Water is often an afterthought for people. Even those who are very active do not get enough water throughout the day. Only when it's absolutely obvious are we turning towards a drink. A long cardio bout, or 20 minutes in the sauna, or outside on a particularly humid and hot day. Our bodies won't let us get dehydrated in those instances. But studies show that mild dehydration, that is 1 to 2% dehydration off the norm, is enough to cause considerable problems when trying to build and maintain muscle. So pay attention to your dry lips, lingering headache, or urine that is less than clear. It may be that silent culprit blocking you from your goals. In this video, we're going to look at why water is so important for your ideal male physique and the particular areas of concern when we don't have enough, and some simple hints to make sure you always have enough in your body at all times. Now, let's get into it. So how many days can we go without water before dying? Well, it depends, but it's certainly days. We could go for weeks without food, perhaps several weeks. But without water, our bodies will shut down in a couple of days. Quicker if the circumstances are dire, like being stranded and exposed in a hot desert. So we know water is important. But when we look at being at our most optimal state, even a little bit of dehydration is critically bad. What exactly does water do in the body? Generally, it's the building block for almost every part of us. 2/3 of the water in us is within our cells. That is, it's the makeup of our brain, heart, lungs, and other vital organs that allow us to function. The other 1/3 is outside our cells, or more specifically in our connective tissue, our ability to be flexible, active, and to move efficiently. So when our brain gives us a thirst signal, it could be for either of those two areas. But when we are considering our human bodies as a whole, we are predominantly made up of water. Our muscles are 75% water. Not protein, water. Dehydrate a steak on the grill and notice how thin and shrunken it becomes. Our brain and other organs are 75% water. Our blood, so critical for optimal physical health, is 80% water. And we don't make water like we can for certain vitamins and nutrients, so we must drink it and drink it often. Studies have indicated that 75 to 80% of people are mildly dehydrated, and we often confuse a thirst signal from our brain as one for hunger. We get that sensation and we eat food as opposed to drinking water. Drinking a glass of water before a meal has been shown to greatly influence the caloric intake of that meal. If we get in the habit of drinking water and drinking it often, our brain won't send us signals to drink, but rather signals to tell us that we don't need any more at that time. Avoiding mild dehydration is critically important. Now, before we get into details, we are talking about water, not soda, not juices or sports drinks loaded with sugar or other garbage. No, crystal clear and clean water. The fluid your body craves without all the junk it doesn't need or want. First, water is absolutely crucial for protein synthesis. The mechanism for growing and maintaining muscle growth is absolutely dependent on our hydration. For the body to work its magic and rebuild and repair the muscles we so adequately broke down in our workout, it needs sufficient water. As we noted, even mild dehydration can affect the way we build and maintain muscle. Without protein synthesis, we do not build muscle. And since muscle building is a series of key events to make happen, the last thing we want to do is put a barrier between it. If we work out hard, put in all the effort, we certainly don't want dehydration to sabotage us. Also, the amino acid absorption that is critical to synthesis does not occur without water. Mild dehydration can slow the absorption of protein that we need. Dialing in our nutrition must come with the mutual benefit of dialing in our hydration. Next is our hormones and recovery. If we are in a state of dehydration, we will stunt our ability to produce testosterone and growth hormone. Our bodies act like a symphony where all the parts need to work in harmony. We need the hormones critical for muscle growth to activate when we need them to. Water is the conduit to make that happen. Now, on the other side is cortisol. We do not want to make ourselves insulin sensitive by spiking our cortisol. When we are properly hydrated, cortisol remains at normal levels. We want our hormones and blood to be at the optimal ratios to help us achieve our fitness goals. For recovery, we need our circulatory systems running at peak performance. This is moving our blood and the nutrients and oxygen it carries to our affected muscles. As we've already noted, blood is literally 80% water. If we lower our hydration levels even a little margin, we're impacting our recovery. Our recovery needs to be as stress-free and optimal so we can get back to the training and march towards our goals. Similarly, we can avoid the dreaded muscle cramping. We need the transport of glucose and oxygen to be optimal as we work out. Water is the transporter of all the critical elements, as well as regulating our temperature for optimization. Key for avoiding muscle cramping is to be sure all nutrients are transported to our muscles. And a key helper here is electrolytes. We hear a lot about electrolytes in all the sports drink commercials we see and hear, and the message is true. They are vital for us. The difference is we don't need to buy a sports drink to get them. Salt in particular is absolutely critical for our bodies to function, our kidneys to be exact. The salt in our kidney is what regulates the water in our body. The kidney moves the water around within itself with the help of electrolytes like salt. In a state of dehydration, the osmosis with salt gives a signal to the kidneys to hold on to as much water as possible because our intake is low. The opposite is true when hydrated, and the signal is to get rid of the excess water. Electrolytes, and salt in particular, make that function happen. So stay away from the sugary drinks touting electrolytes, and put those minerals in your food instead. Drink the clean, clear water, and salt that steak. We touched on fat loss earlier, where drinking a glass of water can help avoid overeating. That study suggests that 44% more weight was lost by the group that drank water before a meal. So the result is obvious. Less calories equals a deficit, and the body burns its fat reserves instead. But proper hydration is also critical for your metabolism. We want the ability to function at an optimal state for our circulatory system, our heart, our lungs, and our muscles. They all need energy, and that energy comes in part from our level of metabolism. Mild dehydration lowers our metabolism and has a cascading negative effect on our fitness goals. Now, mild dehydration can also affect performance and workout injuries. Water lubricates our joints as well as providing for our muscles. We know cramping is one indication of poor hydration, and that can also be a telling sign that a more problematic injury is potentially likely. And that's the last thing we need. As we keep our hydration levels optimal, we lubricate just as we would a fine-tuned race car. To run at the speeds we want, we must avoid being dried out. Moreover, our coordination is supported. When doing our compound exercises like squats or overhead presses for shoulders, we must have proper form. We don't want the form to suffer just because we didn't have enough water. Similarly, our performance is improved. Hydration directly affects fatigue. One study showed that 1 to 2% dehydration could affect 1 rep in a bench press. As our ideal rep count is around 8, that's a big difference. And we don't want dehydration to confuse us about a proper muscle failure. We must operate at peak performance and then fail, not the other way around. So with all of this, how much do we need? Much like protein, just add it in. And do it often. Don't overthink it. Just drink fresh, clean water all the time. When you wake up, during the day, and when you go to bed. Make sure you don't have any dryness in your body like lips or a lingering headache, and the color of your urine is a surefire indicator. When you're working out, drink every 15 minutes or so. Don't have a timer, just drink consistently. Same with a sauna or when playing sports or other activities. Have water with you, drink it, and let your body thrive and produce. Now check out this video for more on protein in diet, and we'll see you in the next one.